Start again. Welcome, everyone. Warm welcome to not just our speakers, but our guests this evening. So if our speakers can give a wave. So we have Matthew CURRIN joining us from the US of A. And we have Catherine joining from the UK. We have Peju and Obi joining us. Obi's there, joining us also from the UK. And for our guests, we have Eloisa joining us from Spain, Jackie joining us from the UK, and Leah, I'm not sure where you're joining us from, but a warm welcome. So for those who are not familiar and joining KaushalyaUK for the first time, this is your first event, a bit about KaushalyaUK. It is a UK registered not-for-profit community organisation working tirelessly to empower and uplift women, but also inviting men to contribute. Hence, Men Are From Mars and our event this evening. The founder and CEO is Ritu Sharma, who is a women empowerment ambassador, who has dedicated her life to bringing women of this world to find their own power and true worth. The main aim of the organization is to empower, connect communities, raise awareness of issues that affect women. And also the distinct objective of KaushalyaUK is not just to support those who are in dire need, but also to support women who are on a journey to create a life of fulfillment through their personal, professional, and financial growth. Projects include education, personal and professional growth, which is what we're on now, health and well-being, financial education and entrepreneurship, as well as social events. Now at this point it's where, waiting room. At this point it's where I would normally hand over to Ritu to say a few words, and she would normally say, this is why we created Men Are From Mars, because we can't do it on our own. As a whole, we need to work with one another. So, and she would also say, and I would adhere to this, that men are a vital part in our education and in our lives as well. No one of us knows more than all of us. So just before we start, and welcome Carmen, just before we start, can I ask everyone, and you are already all on mute, thank you. And what I'd also like to say is question and answers will be held when all the speakers have spoken, just so the speakers don't run out of time. And speakers, you have 20 minutes to share, either using slides or sharing, or just sharing. So kicking us off this evening, I am so pumped and pleased to welcome Peju Abuchi. And Peju, some of those words in your bio, the places I will try and I will try with my hardest to pronounce correctly. So, Peju was born in Lagos, Nigeria. Her name, Adepeju, means the crown is complete. How beautiful is that? She was born into, this is where now, she was born into the Otutu royal family, Il-Ife, please.
Ile-Ife.
Ile-Ife. Okay. Her great-grandfather was the Uni of, you can read this.
Oni of Ife.
Oni of, okay, who reigned from 1910 to 1930 as Abba Ajagun. Go on, finish it off.
Oba Ajagun Laware Kan Ademiloye.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Peju came to the UK to pursue a degree in law and business studies, her master's degree in SOAS, S-O-A-S, in international studies and diplomacy, developed her love for education and honed her skills as a diplomatic speaker. She has taught English in various educational establishments, delved into the world of neurodiverse learning methods, and empowered young people into education, employment, and training opportunities through her involvement in the Princess Trust, a Nigerian princess working with the charity of a former British prince. As she says, wonders shall never cease. Peju now uses the fine art of diplomacy and her creative flair in poetry to speak into societal needs, from diversity and the diaspora to women's empowerment and anti-bullying. She has been featured on BBC Radio, BNet, Solaris, Engage Transform, and the South African Times. She is noted as a powerful, phenomenal, poetic presence. And need I say more? The floor is yours, Peju.
Hi, thank you, Carol. I mean, I can't go into this session without saying thank you to you, Carol. Thank you for the invitation, not just to me, but to my husband. It's wonderful that we get to share the platform together. We do enjoy speaking together. What more can I say? I think that's the end, right? You've introduced me, you've said it all. Okay, next person, please. But no, it's exciting to be able to share with new people, to network on a different platform to what I'm usually used to. Like Carol has said, I'm from Lagos in Nigeria. Some of you would know we've just had the elections for a new president. I've been living in the UK for over 2 decades. I was sent abroad to get a degree and a master's, and I ended up getting married after that and having children and working, and I'm still here. So it all started with a degree in law and business, and my big dream was to work for the United Nations. I love culture, I love traveling, and I wanted to become an ambassador. And the way I put that now, because people say, why are you now a poet? You wanted to become an ambassador. How do those two align? And the only way I can say that is now I fuse the fine art of diplomacy and the heart of poetry. And I speak on different platforms about different issues that affect humanity. Well, it's the month of March. Hello, month of March, the month that we celebrate women and we elevate mothers. We know it's International Women's Day, and the battle for equality and equity is fiercer than ever. So some of you might be thinking, what is the theme for this month, this International Women's Day month? Last year we had Break the Bias, and this year we have Embrace Equity. How interesting. I've had conversations with some women in different circles who are not even sure what that means. So it'll be interesting to get a sense, possibly later on during the questions, what does embracing equity mean to you as a woman? And what does embracing equity mean to you as the men? Because your voices count also. In my opinion, embracing equity is not something we can do on our own as women. And I'm going to say that again. Embracing equity is not something we can do on our own as women. We definitely need all hands on deck and all allies in the arena. And it is wonderful to have men who are allies, because it's a fight that we can only win together. Now, I want to remind you of the 10 values that guide International Women's Day. Now, these values are not just for March. Actually, they permeate every month of the year, and they permeate every life of a woman every day. So there are 10 values: justice, dignity, hope, equality, collaboration, tenacity, appreciation, respect, empathy, and forgiveness. And I can just see that these values are oozing with hope, hope for a better world for the future female generation. What does equity mean to you? We're definitely not going to achieve equity or equality by isolating men from the conversation. We're not going to achieve equity by keeping men in the other room while women discuss these issues that are pertinent to their development, to the future of the female generation, like I alluded to earlier. My opinion is we can't have it both ways. We can't have, on the one hand, equity for women, and on the other hand, the emasculation of men on the same platform. It's not going to work. So how do we bring men and women together? How do we make sure all the voices are valued and counted? Now, do I think women need to be rewarded equally as men for the work that they do? Of course. Do I think women need to be respected more and afforded the same career progression and recognition? Absolutely. Do I think the many biases against women need to be broken? Heck, yes. So, what does equity mean to women? And what does equity mean to men? Now, the vision is for men and women to get along equitably and to work alongside each other respectfully, each playing to their own strengths and capabilities, each valued for what they bring to the table. Is this vision only for utopia? I very much doubt it. And I'm really grateful to a platform like Men Are From Mars, because it's this platform that breaks the rhetoric that when it comes to the issues of women, we just need men to be silent or to be outside the room. Thank you to Carol Edmondson and her team for ensuring that platforms like this elevate the voices of the togetherness of men and women so we can achieve this ideal that both are equally valued and equally respected. On platforms like this, we are able to unite our collective voices and our appreciation for one another, because there's so much to appreciate about being a woman. Our bravery, our beauty, and our birthright. And there's a lot to appreciate in men as well. So indulge me right here, right now, because I want to say to all the men who are on the platform and to those who are listening or who will listen to the recording afterwards, men, we need you. We value you. We respect you. And we see you. Thank you to all the men who are allies. We do need every ally in the arena. I've been really blessed. I'll give you a little bit about my history. I've been really blessed to be brought up by a father who appreciates women. I was brought up in Lagos, in Nigeria, with a father who really respected my mother. My mother was a lawyer, and then she dipped her fingers in fashion design and in property development, and she was excellent in those areas. She really became successful and she soared. And my father gave my mom the space that she needed to flourish. They were not in competition with each other. He recognized her excellent capabilities and he allowed her the space to flourish. And guess what? As my mother flourished, so did my dad. And as my father flourished, so did the family. It wasn't one against the other. It was the magic of the two working together. My father wasn't threatened by my mother's successes. He was proud of her. And guess what? We as their children, we were watching how they danced in their different roles together. And luckily, I had that image of what it looks like to be brought up in a home where you're respected as a woman. And now I'm married to a man who respects me and allows me the space to flourish. He was brought up by a single mother, so he definitely understands that women need to be rewarded for the work that they do. He understands that women need to be appreciated for everything they bring to the table. Because with his mom raising him on her own, he saw the support that she needed, and he saw her give everything to him and his siblings. And to be honest, they flourished. She's definitely a woman who's worthy of respect. My husband and I are now raising boys. And guess what? Our boys are watching how we as their parents dance in our roles. Now, having said that, I want to put this out to the women on the platform, to the women who will be watching this video recording at some stage in the future. The men around us are also watching how we treat each other as women. Do we embrace equity in our female circles? Do we live as empowered women who also empower other women? What picture of camaraderie, connection, contribution, and community are we painting as women? Or are we expecting from others what we're not giving to ourselves? This is really food for thought, and I've been wrestling with this a lot. When I heard about the theme, Embrace Equity, I thought, how do we mirror that as women? Now, it is clear that each side of the coin is just as valuable as the other. And to further embed this point about embracing equity, you can't have me introduced as a poet, and I'm not going to break out into a poem, right? So, so here we go. I've written a very special poem titled Embrace Equity that really speaks to the community and the camaraderie that's needed between both sides of the coin to really make this work. Are you ready to hear it? Embrace equity. Now, the dictionary defines the word embrace as an act of accepting something willingly or enthusiastically. So, when you embrace something or someone, you don't let go until love has won. You hold on tight until the job is done. You will never go on the run. Embrace equity is real. It's not a con. It is very serious, but it's also fun. Go on, aim for the sun. This jubilant journey has long begun. Embrace equity, make space for each entity to live life with true dignity. This choice requires no technology. It is the power of setting free. Embrace equity is the seed of equality. It is the call of diversity. It leads to beautiful human chemistry. When you embrace equity, you value each identity. You understand that this is our destiny, hand in hand. We're not the enemy. When we embrace equity, we will all soar in unity, not accidentally, but as a harmonious melody. So carefully, embrace equity. Pull up the weeds of jealousy. Behold, crystal clear clarity. Will you embrace equity? Will you water the seeds of equality? Have you answered the call of diversity? Do you believe that this is our destiny? Or does your melody, steeped in envy, kill the harmony of humanity by discoloring our clarity? Let's all embrace equity. Rest assured, this journey ends ecstatically. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a joy to share some of what I do with you, to share some of my history with you. I hope you all have a marvelous month of March, celebrating and elevating the bravery and the brilliance and the beauty of the women who surround you. It starts here, but it will never end. Thank you.
I think that's a rousing round of applause. Absolutely amazing, Peju. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yes, let's all embrace equity. Oh my goodness. And not just, yeah, I'll save it for the Q&A. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That was so fantastic. Thank you. Wow, what a gem. Okay. So now I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker, Catherine Lamb. And who is Catherine Lamb? Well, Catherine is a leading UK-based career transformation specialist who helps professionals navigate a major career transition. The one thing her clients have in common is that they all fear failure. Catherine uses her expertise to help people work out what they want to do. She shows them how to achieve it in a way that feels authentic and builds her clients' confidence so they can enjoy a successful and satisfying career. Today, or tonight, Catherine is going to be talking about how to get your dream job without fear of failure. And with that, Catherine, I hand over to you.
Thanks very much, Carol. Okay, hello everybody. So before I start talking about how to get your dream job without fear of failure, I like to just check with people that they're in the right place. So you're in the right spot if a fear of failure is holding you back from what you really want to do. You're in the right place if you're trying to limit your ambition so it matches your level of self-confidence. And you're also in the right place if you're pretending that getting your dream job doesn't really matter. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I work with professionals who hang back from pursuing their dream job because they really fear failure. And I've worked in recruitment for 15 years. And during that time, I worked with over 200 hiring managers from FTSE 100, Fortune 500 companies, and also independent startups. And I've helped more than 700 professionals from senior leaders down to junior level secure their dream job. So what do my clients come to me about? They come to me because they want to change careers, but they feel stuck, or they want to step up into a big promotion, but they fear they're not good enough. And in both cases, it's a fear of failure that's standing in their way and stopping them from pursuing their dream job. And so we're going to unpack that fear of failure and how it stops us getting what it is we really want to get. And you're going to learn 4 things. And the first is how to work out what your dream job is. We'll look briefly at skill set. The other is what potential employers want to see. And you're also going to learn what is the biggest thing that stops us getting what we really want in our career and what to do about it. And it's probably not what you think it is. And finally, I'm going to give you some practical actions and tools and techniques that you can take away and start trying out. And just to manage your expectations around what we'll be covering, we won't be covering the actual search process. That would be a separate session. So coming back to the title, how to get your dream job without fear of failure. Picture this. Right now, someone, somewhere, is doing your dream job. Why shouldn't that someone be you? What's stopping this happening? And part of it is to do with we don't know our skill set. So we don't know what it is our strengths are. So for example, a good place to start would be to make a list of your strengths. Come up with 10 of them. What is it you're really good at? What do other people say you're good at? And then score them 1 to 10 for enjoyment. And then once you've done that, have a think about what motivates you. What will make you jump out of bed in the morning? So when you've done those things and you're aware of what you're really good at, what motivates you, it should be the case that actually you've got your, you know what you can do. So why is it that even when we know what we're good at, what motivates us, we still feel really stuck? And that's because the biggest thing that holds us back isn't our skill set, it's our mindset. And we tell ourselves really unhelpful stories that keep us stuck. And these stories, they usually run along two variations. The first is the I'm not good enough to get my dream job story. And then the second is I'm not expert enough to do it well. So if we look at the first, the I'm not good enough to get it, this actually stops us applying. So we protect ourselves from failure by not even trying for our dream job in the first place. We think better not to have tried for it and failed than to actually tried for it and it just didn't work out. And this will keep you stuck in a job that you don't actually enjoy. So there's a conflict here between the fear of failure and the potential enjoyment of doing a job that you feel passionate about. The I'm not expert enough to do it well story, in this scenario, we do get our dream job, but we then feel so fortunate and so lucky to have landed it that we then tell ourselves we have to go in and be an expert or we could lose it. So take a moment now to think about what's the unhelpful story you're telling yourself about why you can't get your dream job. And let's think about how we can manage it. So if we go back to the first scenario, the I'm not good enough to do my dream job, have a think about what does my fear of failure stop me getting? So what will happen if I never try for my dream job? If I never try for my dream job, what next? If I never try for my dream job, what opportunities would I miss? Complete the sentence, either write it down or complete it in your head. The opportunities I would miss would be what? And if I never try for my dream job, what options or possibilities would be closed to me? The options and possibilities that would be closed to me would be, so as you look back or think back on that, what you're finding is that is the cost to you. So your fear of failure, it comes with a cost. So now that you are aware of that, what are you willing to do about it? So let's move on to the I'm not expert enough to do it well scenario, whereby we do get our dream job, but then we fear that we're not an expert and we're going to lose it. What are the downsides of being an expert? Well, you get bored easily, you know it all. And if you put yourself in the shoes of an employer doesn't want to know all. An employer doesn't want an expert. And in fact, they won't hire you because their fear is that you'll get bored. A few years ago, I had a really bright candidate who wanted to work for this big advertising agency, big global name, and she was very, very keen to get in there. She did loads of research and she said to me, I know I can do this job. I could do the job with my eyes closed. I'm determined to get in there and land the job. And the agency phoned me up and said, we love her. She's fantastic. We would love to have her, but we're not. And we're not having her because she could do this job with her eyes closed. She's an expert. And we think that she's going to get bored. And when she gets bored, she will leave. So that's the employer's perspective around this. So the question is, what makes being an expert so important to us? Why do we feel we have to be that good when we go in? And it's because we associate being an expert, the expertise, we associate that with success. We think that being an expert will protect us from failure. But that's not true. because you cannot have success without failure. They come hand in hand. The only way to avoid a fear of failure is to be willing to go back to being a learner. It's much kinder to ourselves. It takes away the judgment and the criticism around success and failure. But we hate the thought of leaving our comfort zone. So we're currently an expert and we refer to ourselves as being, I'm in my comfort zone. But actually, if we're honest, we're not. We're in our boredom zone. We are really feeling complacent. We can do our current job too easily. And therefore, we're saying, I don't want to leave this little area that I'm in. I don't want to go here, because being a learner, we associate with being incompetent. So there's a conflict between wanting success but fearing failure, wanting to be an expert but avoiding being a learner. We're desperate to get back down here into our comfort zone again. So we come from being an expert where we're bored to going to be a learner where we feel incompetent. And the question is, how do we get back into our comfort zone really quickly? And to do that, we pretend to be an expert. So we set out to avoid making mistakes. And we pretend to other people that we actually know what we're doing. But this pretense of being an expert, it makes us feel like a fraud or an imposter, hence the expression imposter syndrome. So when we're pretending to be this expert here that we're not, what do? We're silent. We don't ask questions because we fear it will show our new employer that actually, I don't know, I'm an idiot, I'm incompetent. We hide away, we make ourselves smaller, we don't stand out. But these behaviours are really unhelpful to us. And that's because we're stuck in this world of pretending to be something that we're not. And then we lose our confidence. We can't find out what we need to know. So the company wants to know that you're excited to be there. And actually what we're doing is we are covering up all the time and hiding away. And yet by asking questions and being willing to be a learner, that shows our willingness to learn. And with that comes energy, interest, being proactive. It moves us forward and it shows other people that actually I'm happy to be here, I'm willing to learn, and I want to move forward with it. And yet we don't have much confidence in ourselves as learners. So how can we build that up? Because really that's what's at the core of our fear of failure, is the fact of not wanting to be a learner, fearing that we're incompetent learners. So if we could build our confidence in ourselves as learners, we can then really start to move forward. So we need to change our language. So rather than I should know that, it's I'm learning to. I'm learning to speak up at meetings. I'm learning to ask questions. So just have a moment to think about, what are you learning to do right now? And part of that is accepting ourselves as a learner. So for those of you who drive, think back to when you first learned how to drive. When the driving instructor turned up, there was an L plate for learner on the car. It wasn't an E plate for expert. If the driving instructor turned up and said, right, we're heading for the nearest motorway, you're going to do 70, let's get going, you'd be, no way am I doing that. And for those of you who don't drive, who are pedestrians living in a town or a city, if a friend turned up and said, oh, I've had one driving lesson, but we're going out now, I know what I'm doing, you'd be thinking, no way am I getting in that vehicle. So it's an acceptance around that in order to learn, a good learner will always make mistakes. And that's the bit we hate. And yet there is an upside to mistakes. We learn from things that go wrong. If it always goes right, we can't learn because there's no change in the pattern. So if you think about it, we're looking for a pattern change that shows up that there's a mistake, and that helps us to understand what good really looks like. If we try to avoid mistakes, we won't risk brilliance, and then we settle for average. So if you have a think about when you last did something new, you learned a new skill, it might be starting your last job, going to college, doing your exams, fixing something. Think about what went wrong and what you learnt, and then you did differently the next time round. So the trick is to learn from our mistakes so we're not making the same mistake twice. So what we're really looking to do, if we go back to this model that we had of the expert, learner, expert, we actually want to accelerate this learning process so we can go back really quickly and get back into our comfort zone again. So what are the practical strategies for succeeding in your dream job? What can you do? Planning. Think about, how do you learn? Accelerator questions. Write a list of questions that you will need the answers to in order to go in and do your dream job and feel really confident about it. What are the questions that you need answers to that will make you feel much more comfortable? And they will help you speed up your learning. And some of those you will feel foolish in asking them, but write them down anyway, because it's good for you just to put all the questions down and have a look at them and think about them, because there is a balance here, if you like. There is a quid pro quo. You know, how willing are you to ask a question in order to be confident in the future? So what questions does your future self need you to ask in order to gain that level of confidence? Use your network. Approach friends, colleagues, family. This is a dream job I want. What advice can you give me? People hate giving feedback. We see feedback as being negative, but we love giving advice. People would love to tell you what they think you need to do, what they think you need to hear, and it's always helpful. Develop your personal brand. Write down, what do you want other people to say about you when you do this dream job? If you think to the future, what do you want your future boss to say about you when you're not in the room? What do you want your colleagues to say about you? And then finally, a tally of success. Keep a record of how often you do something you are proud of. Write it down. Count it up at the end of the day. Count it up at the end of the week. Think about how you're going to increase that each week. So we've looked at how to get your dream job by understanding your skill set, and we've covered what matters to a potential employer. We've also learned our fear of failure is connected to our uncertainty around the change in identity, because we're no longer an expert and we've returned to being a learner. And it's really this fear of being an incompetent learner that's at the heart of our fear of failure, and it holds us back from going for the career or job that we really want to do. But on the upside, there are benefits to being a learner, and we can speed up that process so we get back into our comfort zone. So when it comes to getting our dream job, the biggest thing that stands in our way isn't our skill set, it's our mindset. And in fact, you're the only person standing in your way. So right now, someone somewhere is doing your dream job, and that someone could be you. Thank you.
Wow, Catherine, thank you so much. Those nuggets, oh my goodness. And this is why I'm so glad that these events are recorded. So glad. Oh my goodness.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, Carol. It's been a pleasure.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes. Okay. So, Obi, the spotlight is very shortly going to be on you. As I said, hold all your questions till all the speakers have spoken. And now it also gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Obi Abuchi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm second guessing myself now.
It's how I pronounce it, although there's a more correct way to pronounce it, but I don't always do that. So anyway.
Okay. So Obi Abuchi, a British-born Nigerian, moved to Nigeria at the age of 7 and returned to the UK at 17. Obi says living in Nigeria exposed him to his roots and heritage in a profound way. He learned to appreciate the richness of the Nigerian culture, food, and deep sense of community. He sometimes joked, "You can take the boy out of Waffle land," I hope that's correct, "but you cannot take the Waffle out of the boy." Upon returning to the UK, Obi completed his A-levels and went on to King's College University in London to complete a bachelor's and master's degree in manufacturing systems engineering with management. Having moved into the world of consulting and leadership development, Obi is now the CEO of Core Leaders International, a leading training business. He is also the founder of the Personal Mastery Academy, author of several books, including Leading from Your Core. He's an NLP practitioner, resilience coach, and a transformational speaker with an obsession for helping leaders grow in the area of personal mastery. Obi has coached, trained, and worked with leaders in corporate giants like Shell, Deutsche Post DHL, and Tesco to improve performance by redefining and shaping how they engage and inspire their people. Now, he uses that knowledge to help leaders across the world develop a stronger core so they can lead powerfully from the inside out. So, tell us more, Obi.
Good evening, everyone, or morning when you're watching this, or good afternoon. So it is a delight to be here and a real privilege to have shared the platform with my wife who spoke earlier. So always a joy to do it together and to hear her, and of course to hear the other speakers as well. I always think it's a privilege when we get the opportunity to speak, but also have people listen as well. And whenever I speak, I often think of a gift. What's the gift that I can leave people with? What's the thought? What's the idea? And sometimes that is in the form of my story. Sometimes it's in the form of insights and strategies and tools. And tonight I thought I just want to share my story and leave a gift of this idea, the gift of being yourself. And I'll unpack that through my own story. As Carol said, and thanks again, Carol, for the double invitation for Peju and I to be on. Carol mentioned my name, so the correct pronunciation for my name is Obi Abuchi. So that's and I learned that when I was in Nigeria, although most of the time I say Obi Abuchi. And of course, if in your mind, when you heard my name, you thought of Obi-Wan Kenobi, I won't hold that against you. I am a Jedi fan. I often carry around a lightsaber with me. I don't have one to show you tonight. But yes, I'm a Jedi fan as well as being British-born Nigerian. And Carol also mentioned that I went back to Nigeria when I was 7. And I want to start from just before that. I grew up with a wonderful single mum. My mum and dad separated when I was a few months old, got divorced when I was 7. And at that point, shortly after the divorce, we moved back to Nigeria. And because we were going back for good, or well, certainly for a long time, my mum and aunt decided to make a holiday out of it. And so we went back by ship, and I've got an older sister and 2 cousins, and it was a wonderful time. It was a 2-week journey. And on the journey, we watched a film, and it was called Return to Eden. So it was set in outback Australia. The main character, Stephanie Harper, was an heiress, and she was married to a washed-out tennis player. who was only interested in her for her money. And so shortly after they got married, he throws her into a crocodile-infested swamp and leaves her for dead. You know, the crocodiles come and they just attack her. And I know what you're thinking at this point. Obi, should you have been watching that when you were 7? Probably not. However, I did, and luckily Stephanie was, some older guy comes and shoots the crocodile and gets her into the boat, and he does what he can to patch her up and then gives her some money and sends her off to a clinic. And it's what happened at the clinic that had such a profound impact on me, because at the clinic, the doctor performs plastic surgery on her and he transforms her into someone who becomes incredibly confident, and she ends up, I think, setting up a modeling agency. And as you do in most of the movies, she gets revenge on her husband at the end. However, at 7, for some reason, I was watching this doctor and thinking, I want to do what he did. I want to bring out the best in people. I want to help them be more confident. And so I latched on to this idea that to do that, I had to become a doctor. And so for the next 11 years, I wanted to be a doctor. And so I returned to the UK and I shadow some doctors and get to work at a specific hospital here called Charing Cross Hospital. And I get invited to several medical school interviews, King's College, Cambridge, St. George's, and I get turned down. And the feedback they give me is, Obi's not interested in science. And I was shocked and devastated, because here I am, my dream is being shattered. And remember, I said that the gift I want to talk about is the gift of being yourself. And of course, at that point, I thought I was destined to be a doctor, and all of my identity was centered around that. And I didn't know what to do. And I ended up just asking myself, Obi, if you can say hand on heart, this is all you want to do for the rest of your life, then you're going to go to the dean's office, knock on his door, throw his desk over and say, you've got to let me in. But I couldn't. I couldn't say hand on heart, this was all I wanted to do. However, I was suddenly 18 and incredibly confused and not really sure what I wanted to do. However, around about that time, a mentor of mine, he gave me a copy of Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I was into books at the time, but I wasn't really into professional growth and personal development books. I was into Famous Five and Secret Seven, and yet this book, and the only reason that the mentor gave it to me, by the way, wasn't because he saw this incredible leadership potential. It was just that he thought, Obi, you need to make sure you do well in your exams and be disciplined. And this is a book that will help you with that. But it was a book that really transformed my life. I remember making notes all over and doing pretty much all of the exercises in the book. And it laid this incredible foundation for me on the importance of the personal growth and the personal victory. And very often we want to show up externally as this phenomenal success. And in so many ways, I latched on to the idea that being a doctor would make me an incredible success. And here's the link to being in Nigeria. So during my time in Nigeria, I realized that most families, most parents really only talked about 3 jobs that they wanted their kids to get, and then they'd be proud of them: doctor, lawyer, engineer, and maybe accountant. I mean, after all, they deal with money, don't they? So that was about it. Everything else just wasn't really anything to go by. And so I had linked my identity to being a doctor. And so I ended up, see, there's the book, 7 Habits, that inspired me and got me thinking about my personal development. And I ended up going to King's College to study engineering with management. And one of my uncles said engineering would be a good thing to do, but I knew I wanted to work with people, and so I decided to link it with management. And I fell in love with a specific course, organizational behavior, and that was all about what makes people tick and how do you bring out the best in people, and motivational theories, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so I got excited about that the most when I was at university, but still my primary degree was engineering. And fast forward at the end of my degree, I go into an engineering role, and I hate the engineering. I just think I cannot do this. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't play to my strengths. And I ended up reading another book, Good to Great. And in there, Jim Collins talked about this incredible idea of the hedgehog concept. And he applied it to organizations who do really well. And they asked a couple of questions. What is it we can be the best in the world at? What are we passionate about? What drives our economic engine? And so I applied that to myself. What am I passionate about? What can I get paid for? What do I have a natural talent for? And I realized that it was speaking, it was developing people, it was training, it was coaching, helping to bring out the best in people. Reconnected with that story when I was 7, that beyond this idea of being a doctor, just the heart of it, the heart of what struck me when I was 7 was just bringing out the best in people. And so as a result, I ended up leaving engineering and moving into becoming an NLP practitioner, a coach, a trainer, and then into the world of consulting and people development. And I would like to say that it was all smooth sailing from then on, but of course, not really, because I had this ambition. I moved into consulting, and then I thought maybe I could do this on my own. And I had an incredible amount of passion and zeal, but I soon realized that not necessarily the skill and the expertise that I needed. However, I set up a business, and I had this very wonderful and yet naive vision that in the first month, I was going to make £10,000, and in the second month, I was going to make 20, and in the third month, I was going to make 30, and in the fourth month, guess what? I was going to make 40,000, absolutely, and in the fifth month, I would make 50,000. Yeah, I mean, it was just had this incredible idea. I mean, by the 6th month, I was in the red, and we were paying our mortgage on the credit card, and I was a broken man and had very much lost my way in all of that. And it was really tough. It was really tough because here I was on the outside, people would look at me as a success, and yet on the inside, I felt like an absolute failure with all of these dreams and not able to bring it together. And so much so that I remember at one point feeling suicidal. And I was at a train station looking at the tracks and thinking, oh, I could end it right now. It was that bad. And yet, luckily, I didn't make that decision and pushed through with the support of family and my wife and friends. But it was a pivotal moment because it got me thinking about how I look at myself and how we define ourselves generally. And it was that period that I realized the significance of being our true selves. Because earlier on, I said the gift I wanted to leave you with and just talk about is the gift of being yourself. But it's actually deeper than that. It's being our true selves. And up until that point, even with all of my passion for people and developing and growing others, I was still caught up in this way of defining myself by what I did, by what I had, and by what other people say about me. And the challenge with those things is that when you're no longer doing what you thought you'd be doing, and what there's a recession or something happens with the organization and they have to let you go. If you have defined yourself that way, or if I had defined myself as I was going to be a doctor, I was going to be a successful businessman, and all of a sudden something goes wrong and we lose our sense of self. Or we define ourselves and our success by what we have. And here I've got loads of clients, I have loads of money, and then all of a sudden the money isn't quite there and the clients aren't quite there. And so we lose ourselves, or by what other people say. Hey, you're great, you're amazing. And then next minute they say, you're terrible, you're not, I didn't like that pitch, I didn't like that presentation. Then all of a sudden we lose ourselves and we lose our way. And I realized that I had allowed myself to define myself by what I had, by what I did, or by what others said. And as challenging as that period was, it was an incredible gift for me to, and I wouldn't say I'm there yet. I think it's an ongoing process of learning to find our true selves in a much deeper place, to get to a place where we can define ourselves by our being, the ability to love, the ability to connect, the ability to know that we are loved, and regardless of how we perform, or regardless of what we have, or regardless of what we do, there is an Obi that is deeper at the being level, beyond all of the external and all of the superficial in some respects. And finding that place enables us to be so much more grounded. And that's a big part of the work that I do now with leaders, is yes, equipping them with skills to lead well and to lead their people, but also to lead from a place that is so deeper, so much deeper, that it enables you to be resilient when life throws curveballs, when challenges come your way. And all of that has led me in the last couple of years to writing my latest book called Leading from Your Core. And that's about discovering your values, discovering a mindset that enables you to be at your best, developing habits that enable you to bring the best of your energy, and also just figuring out the beliefs that enable you to be at your best rather than hold you back. I think one of the greatest gifts that we can give the world is being our true selves. It's knowing who we are without all of the accolades and without all of the externals. Who are you really? What excites you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? And being able to live and work and operate from that place allows you to, it brings so much more energy to what you are doing every single day. And I have the up days and I have the down days, but what keeps me going is being connected to my true self. And I discovered that true self when I was 7, that true self that wants to give my best to the world and wants to help bring out the best in others. And so whether I'm getting it right or not, I know that that's my true self, and that's the self that is building the Personal Mastery Academy that I'm working on, that's building the Core Leaders International, that is serving my clients. And you can't take that away from me, regardless of my bank balance, regardless of what people say on one day or the other. You know, that's a true self that you can't take away. And so I hope that for everyone listening, that you all go on the journey of discovering and connecting with your true self. What's that vision, that idea, that why that you had when you were 7, with none of the expectations of the world, and all of the pressure that sometimes happens in the marketplace, but just discovering what makes your heart sing. So that's all that I have to say for now. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks again, Carol, for inviting me on the platform.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing so personally. Obi Abuchi. I tried. Thank you so much. And as Leah mentioned in the chat, Leah says, fantastic, Obi. The power of vulnerability is incredibly important despite what society is saying. And absolutely. Oh, the nuggets we have been treated to this evening, or this afternoon, as you are, Matthew. So to our power couple, Peju and Obi, thank you. I am now going to introduce you to our final speaker for our evening, your afternoon, Matthew, joining us from North Carolina. It's just been such an honor to welcome you all here tonight, and I thank each of the speakers for the time that they have given up and prepared for this evening's event. And Matthew, again, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the platform and to the other speakers and the guests here. Matthew CURRIN is a speaker, trainer, life coach, founder of Convened Communities, retired Marine Corps helicopter pilot, former helicopter EMS pilot, and current Team Penske NASCAR pilot. Matthew is the president and founder of Convened Communities LLC. Convene encompasses MatthewCurrin.com, convenecommunities.com, convenetraining.com, and the Convene application. Matthew is an expert speaker trainer on using scenario-based training, decision-making and crew resource management, communication, teamwork, scenario-based training, briefing and debriefing, lessons learned gained through life experience, providing a real perspective on the importance of decision-making and sharing of experience and knowledge. And this is what we're all about. Yeah. So Matthew, thank you. And the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. So I think you kind of knew what you're doing. I feel very lucky and honored to go last because, you know, I picked up from my other 3 great speakers, 3 main words I'm going to kind of hone in on, and they're what I really focus in on. So it's pretty incredible, equality, right? So if you look at Convene Communities, if you look at my logo here, that's right here, what you might notice, it just, we call it the helix. But what is the helix? The helix is greater than and less than. It's bringing people together. You know, some people are very fortunate, some people are not as fortunate. So when I was gifted this by the marketing firm that I worked with, they brought me this logo and said, you know, you want to bring people together. And that's where the word convene came from. And that's where we bring people together in community. Learner. So that's what I am. I am a learner. I am a learner that believes that we all have a story and we all have something to share, and we can help each other through our life experience. When you heard Carol say that at the end, we all have something to bring to the table, and I'm going to talk about that during this time. And then gift, as you talked about, is that the gift of your story, the gift of where you've walked through in life is everything. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, what started me on this journey. So Carol said, I'm a pilot. I was in the Marine Corps, United States Marine Corps, and I was in the fortunate spot for my country to lead a lot of the initial missions in Afghanistan in 2001. So I was over there, and I was, leading with all kinds of special forces from all over the world at the time. Very proud of that. But what happened about 6 months prior to going over there changed my life. And what that was is I was out flying a routine helicopter training mission with one of my good friends, or two helicopters, excuse me. I was supposed to be flying this night with one of my good friends, and I went down before we went to fly, and I asked him for, we called it the book. It was the maintenance log that you had to, me as the aircraft commander, I had to sign for it. And I said to him, I said, hey, bro, can I have the book to sign for it? And he said, well, we've changed the schedule tonight, and you're not flying with me. You're flying with another guy named Sergeant Salah. And so we were flying, if you could see that helicopter down there, we were doing this training mission. And we went out, and my aircraft had a little bit of an aircraft issue, and I had landed up front on what was called the LHA deck. It was a practice shipboard landing pad, and they were still doing landings behind me. And I asked the gunnery sergeant that was inside of the helicopter where they were, and he said, well, they're flying on downwind. And then I asked him a couple of minutes later, I said, hey, Gunny, can I lift? And he said, well, what do you mean, sir, did they call departing? They're not there. And the Sergeant Salah said, well, what do you mean, Gunny? Aircraft just don't disappear. And he stuck his head out of the helicopter and he said, sir, are there rocks in this water? Come up now. So what had happened is they had flown the helicopter and they had crashed right in the water right behind us. Now, what was hard about this is that this particular night, we lost 3 good Marines, to include Clark Beatty, who is one of my good friends. Now, we had 2 survivors and 3 Marines lost their lives. Well, when I was out there watching them race the helicopter out of the water a day and a half later, right around that time, I found out that another mishap had happened, another crash had happened in another squadron a year and a half prior. And what caused the mishap that night was the same thing that caused the mishap in the other squadron, to the other helicopter. But nobody died, nobody got hurt. They just had a hard landing. Well, guess what? They kept it a secret inside of their squadron, and they didn't share it outside to anybody. And so because they didn't share it outside to anybody, what could have been a 2-minute fix of unscrewing one bolt and putting another one in, they didn't tell anybody. And so what would have made it impossible for that crash to ever happen made it so that crash happened. And so I promised that day that I would, to Clark Beatty, who was one of my best friends in the world, that I would go out on this mission and I would teach people about decision making. I would teach people about sharing our experience and knowledge, sharing our story, because in this case, if that story would have just been shared, if that change would have just been made, I might not be sitting here today. But because that story happened and I've made this promise to my friend, I'm out here each and every day working hard to change lives. And to Catherine's point, that is my dream job, to sit in this chair. Now, some might think, well, being a pilot, because I'm a pilot in the military, I got out and I flew air medical, meaning flying in and out of hospitals. I did 659 patient flights. And that sounds like it's amazing to be able to do that. But also I'm watching people's lives change on a dime. During that time, I did a lot of training and speaking at hospitals. So I went into a hospital at Duke University, if anybody's ever heard of Duke, and I was inside of Duke University speaking, and I had a long line of people that wanted to speak to me afterwards. And so I'm there talking about decision making, crew resource management, all these different topics about working in a trauma center, a high risk environment. Do you know what they wanted to talk to me about? They wanted to talk to me about their marriage. They wanted to talk to me about relationships. They wanted to talk to me about parenting, because I was on my way back at that point in time to get my degree in counseling. So I do have a degree, a master's degree in counseling as well. So I set out and I took off, started building Convene Communities at the time, a platform, where we can bring people together again to talk about real life, real people, real experiences. This is your story, to talk about your stories. Now, I continue to fly to this day. I fly for a billionaire over here in the United States, a man named Roger Penske. He owns, the company's humongous. I fly the helicopter and I still fly the jet, a Gulfstream 280. So when I say, what I do over here in the States, people are like, oh my God, you fly for Roger Penske. And you know what, Catherine, that's not my dream job. That's not what I'm passionate about. It's a means to make money. And it's fun. You would think flying a jet is great, but it's really about making a difference in people's lives. It's about how can we go, like Obi said, how can we take our story? How can we take our passion? How can we take what we do and help each other in that process? So I created a platform. And my I was out working with business to business, and I was allowing people to use the shared learning platform, but it wasn't good enough because other people have stories. Other people have things that they can tell to make a difference in so many people's lives. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope this part works. I want to talk about one other thing. Let me get rid of some of this stuff here and let me go find it. I did want to talk about this. When you're talking about equality, this is why this is very important to me. If I can get this picture to come up. There we go. So this is my family. So equality, this is everything to me, And so you have my wife here in the green. We've been married 28 years. So I want to tell you a quick story about being married 28 years because I was a man. I know, but you probably can relate to me. And, it's hard, being a man, and trying to understand my wife. Well, I'm on the way to Afghanistan, right? And you guys might be familiar with these books, but you may not. Has anybody ever heard of the 5 love languages? Okay, so the 5 love languages. So I'm on the way to Afghanistan in 2001, and we read the 5 love languages. And I got to that chapter about acts of service. And it was like, oh my gosh, that's it. If I would just help her keep the house clean and take care of the kids, then she'll be happy with me. It was like a new awakening to me. And it was a new awakening to my marriage too. Now, the other book that we read, and you may have heard of this one. Have you heard of The Notebook? All right. So we read The Notebook. We're on the way to war. And those are the 2 books that we read. All right. But it was very eye-opening to me. And it really helped me be a better person, not only a better person, but a better parent. So this is my son here on the left. He's 25. He has a great job in the corporate world. His name is Braden. It's my daughter in the middle. She's getting ready to go to medical school here in the States. And this is my youngest daughter. She's 19 and she is a poet. She is a creative writer. So yes, she's at University of North Carolina. Both my daughters went to University of North Carolina. And so that is just a wonderful thing. But they help me, when you're talking about the word equality, I want my daughters to be successful. I want my wife to be successful. She's a pediatric nurse, works in a hospital, but most of all, she was an amazing mom that raised 3 amazing kids. And I am so very lucky that she is who she is. And so that's 28 years of marriage. So very lucky. All right. I want to play a video. So this is my platform, Convene Communities, okay? And I'm going to talk to y'all about this community here. This is the Convene Communities. Well, let me go back. There's all kinds of different communities. Anybody and everybody can come in and have a different community. There's different communities around first responders. There's, different communities. This guy he's a TikTok influencer over here in the States. He talks about men's mental health. There's a women's community that's coming. My daughter's creating a pre-medical community. There's no end to what kind of communities that you can have. And like I said, this is a bookshelves and eatwells. There you go. This is a reading and writing community. This is where the poetry happens in here. And my daughter that's 19 runs that. So I want to play this video real quick. I had an event a couple of, not this, well, it was a week and a half ago. And we had people from all over the United States come in. And I told you that the job of convening community is to tell people's story, right? That's what we do. And you can see all these wonderful documentary type videos. And I hope you guys can hear this. So give me the thumbs up once I start it. Y'all might recognize some of the music that's in it. And I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's called What's Your Superpower? And that's what this event was about. And then I'm going to go over into the group that we had and let y'all see some of the speakers. Let me know if y'all can hear this. Can you hear it?
At the end of the day, your superpower is when you are your authentic self. That's your superpower, is when you're you. If I'm going to be like anybody else, it's not going to work. So any other speaker that get up here, what they say, how they say, I'm not going to try to say it. I'm not going to try to do it. I'm going to be who I am. And at the end of the day, if you are your authentic self, that's the 1%.
My superpower is in setting an example. Setting the example that you can change your life physically, spiritually, and financially if you just put in the work.
My superpower is that I don't ever run out of energy. I don't run out of energy for myself. And I don't run out of energy for other people.
My superpower is telling my story through a lens of justification by faith in Christ through grace.
My superpower is that I'm a blessings connector. I love to connect people. I love to connect resources and bring it all together for the greater good.
My superpower is empowering students and teachers to take their lives to the next higher level.
My superpower is I see things other people often miss. So I help people take the braces off their brains so they can live their best life now. What is now no opportunity wasted.
You're not just anyone. One day, you're going to have to make a choice.
You have to decide when you want to grow up to be. Whoever that is going to change the world.
What is it? Do you hear it? Look in the mirror and you'll know.
All right, I'll stop it there because it continues on, but that's the point of this is what's your superpower, right? You know, what's your story? How are you going out and impacting others? How are you going out and changing lives? And I think that that's what we're all meant to do. And I think that we all have this story that we can share with each other. So if you go into the event that we have, and I'll go into this particular group, you can see we had amazing speakers here. Not everybody's pictured, but we take those and we put them in experiences, and these are called experiences. And you can see that some of these stories that people taught were business driven. Some of these stories that people taught were very personal. There was stories, a lot of stories of trauma in this, things that both men and women had gone through and how they've harnessed that story to go forward and help each other. And that's the main thing that is great. We had stories of mental health, a lot of mental health that goes on. We have stories that, you know, people that are out there making difference in people's lives in so many different ways. And that's what I help people do. I help people capture and harness their stories. I help people create communities because this is what I believe. I believe that we're not walking alone in life. I believe that although you guys are all over in Europe and I'm here in the States, we're walking this path together. And in so many different ways, like Obi talked about, we can learn from each other, whether that be man to man, man to woman, woman to woman. There's so many different things out there that we need to come together in this world. And that's what my passion is. That's why I believe that, each and every day when I come and sit in this seat, I'm a learner. I'm learning from others because I don't have all the expertise in the world. I have just a little bit of expertise, but I can facilitate a learning environment. I can facilitate other ways that people can do things. Now, before I go off here, I want to show you one other community because I think this is one of the things that makes things special here and inside of Convene. Not all the time do people want to share their dirt. Not all the time do they want to share their story because maybe it's something that is vulnerable, and it's okay to be vulnerable. Well, I want to show you some of the things that we do inside of Convene. Now, this community is for teens and young adults. We have one of the things we have in there in discussion boards, and you'll notice one amazing word here on the side, and it's called anonymous. And this anonymous thing is so important. So if I go down here to this one called school drama, I can tell that school drama is about two girls at school, because you can tell that it's girl talking about another young lady. But here's the key word right here is help. And that word help is in all capitals. And so this young lady is reaching out, although I don't know who the young lady is reaching out for help. And you can see that students come in and start responding anonymously to her. And then we get a Kate Gallahue, who's a pediatric physician's assistant here in the United States, comes in as a professional responds. But then what you get here is you get my daughter Lainey, who is a peer-to-peer, who is a senior in high school when she responded here. And now she's coming back and lifting this young lady up and saying, hey, I've been there. I've walked in your shoes. I know where you've been. Another example of great things that teenagers are doing, we call these experience. I don't call it training. I don't call it courses. I call them experience because we learn in life through life experience. And this one is called I Am From. Now, you're gonna like this one, Peju, because this one is my daughter, and it's what she wrote. And this is off a prompt in school, and I'll give y'all a chance to read it there. But she's a great writer. Now I'm very proud of this experience inside of Convene because more students have taken this than anything else that's done on the entire platform. And she's writing about who she is and where she's from. Now, y'all give me the thumbs up when you're done reading it, and I'll move on. So the way that these experiences work in this shared learning environment is that it goes on and they're able to answer questions from it. And in answering the questions, you'll see that these students, she says, where are you from? When answering the question, do not just tell me what city you're from, tell me who you are and what makes you you, what life experience have created you. Remember, your answers are anonymous. And so you can see that here 79 kids have taken this and written about their life experience. And here's the key thing, it's anonymous. So after they write about it and they're answering anonymous, people tend to be more open and honest in this training environment here, whatever the topic is, no matter if they're adults or they're kids, it does not matter. People get more open and honest. And what ends up happening is then you have a lesson learned where she writes a little bit more about it. And then everyone gets to write their lesson learned. Now, here's what's amazing. The answers in here, the kids are talking about be yourself. It's okay to be who you are. And in this world that we live in right now, that is a beautiful thing because people are struggling, especially as a counselor on the mental health side. That's what's going on. So just an example of what the platform is that I've created. That's my passion. I've been at this a long time. It's a passion. I mean, it's a platform that anybody and everybody can use to take it and run. Obi, you could use it. Catherine, you could use it. Peju, you could use it. Carol, you could use it. It's wide open for anybody to take it and run with it. But the thing is that we're helping people come together all across the world. We're helping people, know that it's okay to be them. We're taking our real life, our real stories, and we're sharing it with others for the good of others, because again, we're not walking alone. So thanks for letting me be on. It's an honor to follow the three of you. And Carol, thank you for, allowing me to be on over here. I think everybody that's been on this call is out here making a difference in so many people's lives. And that's what I love to see.
Absolutely priceless, priceless. Thank you. And thank you for sharing the Convene platform. Oh my goodness. The possibilities is just opened up what and how we could utilize this, especially if people feel they can come in anonymously. It makes them free to share without feeling like,
well, there's no fear of judgment. There's no fear of judgment. In the counseling world, we talk about, nowadays, people want to be seen, heard, and validated. That's really what it is. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to know that what they're thinking matters. But they need to be in a safe place. They need to be in an environment of know, like, and trust. So they need to know that it's okay, and that they're around like-minded people, that are there for the same reasons that they're there for, that they might be there for. And that's what they get in response. Just like those kids talked about, they recognize by taking that experience and writing their I am from, statements, that they're more alike than they are different. But in this world today, everybody feels so isolated, and that's not what we want. You come into this platform, and it doesn't matter if you're man, woman. It doesn't matter, your ethnicity. None of those things matter, because guess what? Nobody knows. Nobody knows, and yes, you can come out and post as yourself, or you can post anonymously, but it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it's changing the way that people are doing things over here in the States. We do have I have a meeting on tomorrow with a lady who's starting a women's community. And the goal of that is to grow a community of women, different groups, different things that are coming, and because it's needed, it's just something that's wonderful. Tonight, I'm on another podcast, and it's all about men's mental health, and that's what we'll be talking about there. But interesting enough, the majority of people that are watching from behind the scenes on that podcast are women. And they say that it's wonderful because they understand a man's thought process in, relationships and parenting and all that. So really, really interesting how it's all going.
Awesome. And funnily enough, our theme for our International Women's Day is seen and heard.
That's it.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Right. So, oh, wow. When you're just so full, I feel full. Oh, wow. Thank you so very much to our speakers, to Matthew, to Peju and Obi, to Catherine, and for our guests who have joined us. Now I'm opening up the floor for questions. And before I open, always bear in mind, vulnerability is a strength, and every one of us has a story, or even stories inside us, because stories, as I always say, stories can make or break a person. How you respond to it will depend on how the trajectory of your life and the direction that you head in. So, oh, by the way, speakers, please, please, please put all your links in the chat, please. And while you're thinking of your questions, Catherine, you talked about fear of failing, and it's embracing failing forward, because failing is a stepping stone to a victory if you don't give up and throw in the towel. And I love the questions that you posed there: planning, accelerating, using your network. And our network actually can be our net worth if we use it correctly, forming relationships, heart-centered relationships, not what can I get from you, but caring and sharing. Another of my my phrases that I love, because I embody that. So thank you for, let's have a look, see how many links we've got in here. We've got Obi's, we're getting Peju's, we've got Matthew's, we've got Catherine's LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you. This is amazing. And Matthew, that platform that you have and the variety of groups in there.
Yeah, there's no end. Really no end. I mean, it's a blank slate for what everybody wants to use. I mean, I looked at it as a speaker. I'd walk out of there as a trainer and speaker. It was what was my leave behind. And that's really one of the big reasons why I made it, is because when I walked out, I could be the greatest speaker in the world and have a line of people that wanted to talk to me. But where did I drive them to? A Facebook group? There's more to it in a more personal setting. So a lot of there's companies over here that use it for their training and all that. So again, it's a blank slate. If you're interested, connect with me and we can walk through it and see how you can use it. It really fits for authors, speakers, all kinds of coaches, you name it. There's no end. Blank slate.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Food for thought, Jackie. Could we use it for church? Grief recovery. Who knows? Yeah.
Okay. It's so funny that you said that. The lady that I'm meeting with tomorrow that's starting the community for women, she wants to start a grief recovery group, and she is very faith-based. Yes. Here. So yes, you can use it for that. It's perfect for that.
Get Tammy hooked in.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. So any questions before I just take over?
Sorry, Carol, I just wanted to say I'm here on my own steam. I'm not representing.
I know, but so am I. It's food for thought.
I'm here as a learner, and yeah, I just want to commend everyone that's spoken this evening. Really, this is so rich. I'm with you, Carol, when you said that we're so full. We've just learned so much from all your experiences, and I love the thread that's run through. What I got from it is learning, really. We never stop learning, and how you've been incredibly able to turn your stories into lifelong lessons for the rest of us is just amazing and so relevant to all of us. Thank you so much for all your vulnerable sharing. It's as though it's from, if I ever had a question, it would be like, if you don't have life experiences, what's your value to mankind, because it's been all your experiences that's made this so rich. But also the big thing too, well, it's like, I know you're all from different corners of wherever, the world, but there's a thread. It's all interconnected, everything you've talked about. And what I get from it is mindset, learning, and together. From the start, Peju, when you talked about the Women's Day and the theme, embracing equity, I thought, oh my goodness, okay. And you asked, what does equity mean to you? And I thought there's such a potential there for conflict between, men and women, but you brought that so beautifully together because of the mindset that you brought into it. You're like, we've got to make sure that we embrace men, that we can't do this on our own. And that's a big thing, the mindset that we go into. And of course, Catherine, you continued, that theme. It was a revelation to me, that it's not our skill sets, because in our jobs or whatever we do, we're thinking, oh, we're not trained enough. I don't have, I'm so inadequate, this, that, but it's our mindset. And when you think through it, it's true. It's our mindset, what you think is who you are, you know. And yeah, I got that from this, and I'm so grateful. And thank you, Matthew. My goodness, you just brought it all together, you know. And again, that was a theme, together, you know, together. Each of you have that same theme, you know. You did it together. What you learned, you know, you taught others, and you've built from that. So I'm really, thank you, Carol, that you made sure that was here. I've really learned from it. And these are lessons that we could just take into life, into a lot of the things that we do, you know. So I just want to say thank you. But again, yeah, we've got to build up on our life experiences. I'm thinking, whoa, you know, and it's true. All of us have a story to tell, you know. We can learn from that and share with others. So it's about us sharing, doing life together. Thank you.
Absolutely. You know, this event happens on the first Thursday of every month. And then on the third Thursday of every month, we have the Women Empowerment event, where we have 4 female speakers. The next one is on the 16th of March. And for the Men Are From Mars, this mixed event with male and female speakers, we are booked up till October. Yeah, absolutely. And since I've been doing this, I've sourced over 200, well over 200 speakers on the platform. And you imagine, I've had the privilege of hearing each of their stories and journey. It's been so enriching. It really has. And they're all recorded, so you can go back. Anybody can go to the website, KaushalyaUK, I'll put it in the chat actually, .com, and have a look at some of the previous recordings. Bear with me while I type. There we go. Go to the events tab and input your email address to subscribe, and then feel free to have a look at the programs, because on KaushalyaUK, which is a not-for-profit, as I mentioned at the beginning, it does a lot of work in the community, training DV, male and female DV first aiders to recognize someone in the community who may be going through domestic violence. So they run workshops as well. I'm a volunteer with KaushalyaUK hosting these, and 2 face-to-face in Warsaw, but they run workshops as well. So anybody who wants to do a workshop, I can put you in touch with the volunteer Zina Kula, who actually coordinates the workshops. They have done training on public speaking, as well as financial education and entrepreneurship. And Ritu herself is actually at a International Women's Day event tonight. That's why she's not here. KaushalyaUK's International Women's Day is next Saturday, which I'll be hosting face-to-face. And then we have our church International Women's Day on the following Saturday in our locality in Wolverhampton. But yeah, life is an adventure, and we need to treat each day as an adventure, because tomorrow is never guaranteed. And yeah, Jackie, I'm full. But oh, the talent that you have brought and the expertise that you have brought to the platform this evening has been really special, and I thank you. So Sophia, thank you for joining us, sweetheart, and Carmen, and Eni, help me with your pronunciation.
Oh, it's NEA.
NEA, thank you. Tonight's a learning night for me.
No, thank you. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here from the start, but from what I've heard, I look forward to looking back at the recording.
Absolutely. Again, it's a volunteer who uploads to the website, so you have to wait till it's uploaded. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to actually stream to Facebook. It was asking all sorts of questions after I already hit record, so I had to come back to the Zoom. So yes, thank you all. Any other questions? Yes, Jackie.
None, except that I'm so sorry I've got to leave now, but thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Carol.
All right.
Bye.
Wonderful.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. So yes, any other questions for our speakers? And Peju, you need to be on stage. More stages, more stages. Yeah. Yeah. And connect with each other, connect with me. So I'm on LinkedIn. You won't fail to recognize me. I've got the afro in my profile picture. Oh, yeah, I love what I do. I love, because I'm a people person and just love what I do. So let me, if there are no other questions, I will stop the recording.